Hello, Ghosties. I'm Chance Lee.
And I'm Amanda McAvoy.
And this is That's So Gothic, a movie podcast about girls, guys, and haunted houses. You know, Amanda, we've talked about some scary Christmas movies on this podcast, like Black Christmas 2006, when a man makes Christmas cookies out of his parents' skin, or The Lodge, when two kids torture the sole survivor of a Christian suicide cult until she goes insane. But none of them match the terrifying, soul-rending, anxiety-inducing horror of The Family Stone.
You don't have to be nervous.
I'm not.
They're gonna love you.
There's nothing harder than joining a family,
He intends to give that girl my mother's wedding ring.
especially one like the Stones.
She's got this throat-clearing tick. It's like she's digging for clams.
Ready? Yeah, they're all watching, you know.
They have a funny way of making you feel at home.
Hello. You have a lovely home.
All the better to entertain you, my dear.
Don't dilly-dally there, pretty lady. We're all gonna be down here talking about you.
She is completely uptight.
I am not sleeping with you in your bed in your parents' house.
Separate bedrooms. It's so silly.
Are Everett and Meredith going to get married?
4 words.
Second word.
Beekeeper.
Ring.
Bride.
Always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
They hate me. They hate
They
me.
just met you. I just figured you'd give her a hard time, have a good laugh, but then back off. Meredith's checking into the inn. And now her sister Julie's giving up Christmas with her entire family in order to be with Meredith.
I'm ashamed of all of you. Even you.
Hi.
Hey. Hi.
This holiday season,
He's gonna ask me for that ring.
Mom, enough about the ring.
from the producer of Sideways,
You have a freak flag. You just don't fly it.
Uh-oh.
We will try to behave like a civilized family.
I don't care whether you like me or not.
Oh, of course you do.
Claire Danes, Diane Keaton, Rachel McAdams, Dermot Mulroney, Craig T. Nelson, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Luke Wilson. The Family Stone.
What's so great about you guys? Nothing. It's just that we're all we've got. And you! You're the worst! I'm the worst!
Boy.
Released in 2005, The Family Stone was written and directed by Thomas Bezucha? Bezucha! It should be Bezucha.
Bezucha, yes.
It stars Sarah Jessica Parker as Meredith, a professional but naive woman being lured into her boyfriend's family's demented lair. Dermot Mulroney as Everett Stone, the boyfriend. Diane Keaton as Sybil, the cold and cruel matriarch of the devilish Stone family. Luke Wilson as Ben, the cute stoner. Claire Danes as Julie, Meredith's sister who unwittingly becomes collateral damage in this house of horrors. And as other Stones, we have Rachel McAdams, Elizabeth Reeser, Coach. And this is the story of a man who either wants to marry a woman or have his family devour her soul, or both at Christmas time.
Yes.
This movie made $93 million against an
Wow.
$18 million budget, and it continues to terrify audiences today. A writer for Nylon website in 2020 said The Family Stone is the pinnacle of Christmas cinema.
Wow. Like, unironically?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
This movie has a 52% critical tomato and a 63% popcorn meter. Ebert gave it 3 stars.
Wow.
He didn't write anything interesting about it,
Okay.
but he did say about holiday movies that most of the action in a holiday film takes place in the house or on the way to and from it. And whatever happens will have to happen before everybody heads back to the airport. This creates an artificial deadline that makes everything seem more urgent and requires that the truth be told or love declared right here and now, or not at all.
That's a very good take. That's a very good
Mhm.
observation. It's
On a
almost like he
Christmas movie.
reviews movies. Yeah.
Yeah, he's seen a Christmas movie or 2.
Wow, impressive.
What did you think of this movie?
Um, this movie ruined my night. Um, I thought it would be. I have such conflicting feelings about this movie. I feel like when I was watching it, so first of all, let me get this out of the way. I thought it would be really funny to watch the Family Stone stoned. So I was very stoned watching this
The
movie.
Family Stoned.
Yes. And I don't know, like I had a great time, but I don't know if I recommend that other people do it because I
Mm.
was having such vocal, loud expressions of confusion and disgust and
Mhm. Mhm.
joy while watching this movie. Um, it was, and then as I was falling asleep that night thinking about this movie, I think I almost tricked my head into loving it. Um,
Wow.
we'll get into it, I'm sure, with like, some of the characters and the tropes and stuff, but there is one couple that comes out of this movie, out of this story. There's two people who have become coupled up. That is maybe my favorite couple of all time.
Aw.
Yes. And it's absolutely stupid and ridiculous. But I love them and I want them to be my parents. Um, so I this movie like did a number on me. I didn't have time to do it and I'm really sad. But the next day I woke up and was like, I need to rewatch this movie. There are so many things I need to figure out about this movie. I need to go in with a completely different perspective. Um, it really took me on a ride.
I'm so glad this has become now it's a Christmas classic for you.
It's something. It's something. I don't
I
know if I love it, but it's weirdly burrowed itself into my brain.
I know that I hate this movie.
Yes.
I had seen it once before and didn't like it.
Hmm.
But watching it this time, I don't know what has changed in my life. I thought I was gonna vomit. I
Hmm.
was more anxious watching this movie than I was watching Darren Aronofsky's Mother! Exclamation point.
Yes.
I just was on edge the whole night,
Hmm.
and I had the worst nightmares that I had had in years after watching this movie. Like, I'm not exaggerating.
Yes. It's funny actually. You texted me and told me that, and I was going to save it for the podcast, but I told you, oh my God, I had night terrors the night.
Mhm.
And it had nothing to do, like my actual night terrors had nothing to do with the movie. But I think my height of anxiety was so high when I fell
Mhm.
asleep. My body said, you must be terrified.
You have to process this fear.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It is so funny.
Mine was the same way. It had nothing to do with the movie, but they
Right.
were the most bizarre. I wish I could remember
Yeah.
them and write them down. They were so bizarre, so freakish.
Yeah, I just remember waking up like sweaty and like more tired than when I fell asleep. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
this movie is Robert Kennedy's brainworm for me. It chewed a hole in my mind,
it's like a perfect way to
and
describe it.
the damage will never be repaired.
Yes.
This is related, I promise. What
Okay.
do you think about Love Actually?
Ooh, I haven't seen Love Actually in many, many years. Um, I remember liking it. I remember my favorite part of that movie was I think his name is Bill Nighy, the older British gentleman, and he's the rock star. And I still constantly say, that I feel it in my fingers, or I feel it in my toes. Um, but that's about it. Like, I'm sure it's a perfectly fine movie. I don't have a lot of interest in watching it again, but yeah. Why do you ask?
So that's also a polarizing holiday
Mm,
movie. I do not like that movie either.
okay,
That's a movie where the more a woman talks, the worse off she ends up by the end of that movie.
that's a good point.
And I find it very frustrating and creepy, but I will never judge anyone for watching Love Actually again.
Right.
My judgment will be reserved for people who watch The Family Stone.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's talk about the cast of this movie. We have a stacked
Yes.
cast.
Quite the ensemble.
Sarah Jessica Parker is our lead,
Mm-hmm.
Meredith. She's great in this movie.
Yeah. And this is like height Sex in the City. Like this is peak Sarah Jessica Parker.
Mm-hmm. She's really cute. She's
Mm-hmm.
has a lot to do in the
Yep.
movie, and she, to me, takes a character. It's hard to tell if it's her performance or the fact that her character is juxtaposed against this family who I find repulsive and
Yes.
horrible in every way. I'm not sure if we're supposed to dislike everyone. This is my main conundrum with this movie. Am I
Yes.
supposed to be on someone's side? Am I
Right.
supposed to hate everybody? What
Mm-hmm.
is the viewpoint I'm supposed to have?
Yeah.
But she does a great job with her role.
She does. Yeah. She's great. I really like her. I like her as like a actress and as a person. She just seems like she kind of, I feel like, because I read something about how she said she took this role because it was so different from Sex and the City, from her character
Mhm.
in Sex and the City. I feel like that is true because Carrie Bradshaw, I have not watched a lot of Sex and the City, but I know she's supposed to be like she's kind of a hot mess.
Mhm.
She is a writer. Like, she's not by any means like a hippie, loosey goosey person, but she's a lot more like relaxed, whatever. Um, but she's still always, I think the thing that Sarah Jessica Parker does in almost all of her roles is she always has like this underlying air of being frazzled. Like she's always a little frazzled.
Mhm. Mhm.
Even when she's like not playing that. And in this movie, she really gets to lean into the frazzleness. She's quite frazzled.
She's very frazzled. I would be
Yeah.
too.
Yes.
One of the main reasons Meredith is frazzled is because of Amy, who is played by
Mm-hmm.
Rachel McAdams. Amy is just a cunt from
She's
beginning to
horrible.
end.
Yeah.
And I think Rachel McAdams is such a talented actress, and she does a great job with this terrible role.
Yes.
I just
Yeah.
don't even know why she would take this role.
Right. Like she's so mean. My theory for her character is this is what happens when you are too close to your brothers for your entire life. Like they've been too friendly.
Mm.
I hated my brother in high school, like loathed him. And now we are a comfortable friendship. If I
Mhm.
had liked my brother for my full 30 years, I could see being this weird, possessive bitch about it. She's
That's a really good
so
point.
weird. Like, you need to hate your brothers at some point, and I feel like she doesn't.
Being an only child,
Mm,
a lot of the family dynamics are baffling to me anyway, so that's a
yeah.
good observation.
Mm-hmm.
Another reason Meredith is frazzled is because of the mother, Sybil, played
Mm-hmm.
by Diane Keaton. We shouldn't hit anybody. We shouldn't hit women. But if I could slap one celebrity, it would be Diane Keaton.
Really?
Something about her, and I think honestly, I do think a lot of it is this movie
Yeah. Yeah.
and her friendship with Woody Allen.
Yeah.
She just has a slappable face to me,
Kind of does, yeah.
and I just want to hit her.
Yeah. And she, like, doesn't. The thing I really hate about her character in this movie is that I just don't really feel like she was kind of anything. Like, she was a terrible person and she was dislikable, but at least be like fully commit. Like if it had
Mhm.
been um oh my God, why am I totally blanking on her name? The Devil Wears Prada. Like that's one
Streep.
thing. Yeah, Meryl Streep. If it had been Meryl Streep, I feel like she would have been like so dislikable that she would
Mm.
have been likable. Diane Keaton, I feel like just brings nothing. Like I'm like the whole, excuse me for spoiling, I'm gonna jump ahead. Sort of the whole emotional crux of the movie is that she's sick and this is probably her last Christmas. I
Yes.
didn't even care.
No.
And I'm usually like a sucker for that kind of stuff. Like I'm a big weepy crybaby. I was like, okay. And like,
So what?
right. Like she was just a nothing character to me.
I agree. All the characters are pretty one-dimensional in this
Mm-hmm.
movie. And that's a good point about the casting, and which is one thing that makes me think we're supposed to be sympathetic towards this family because they've cast likable people for
Yes.
all of the roles.
Right.
Meryl Streep is universally respected, but she can play an unlikable character. But
Yes.
Diane Keaton always plays a likable, quote unquote,
Right.
likable. I never like them because I just want to slap her.
Yeah.
But she plays a likable character.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if you're gonna bring him up or if he's the next character. I do kind of like the dad. I think he's
I
kind of
wasn't
cute
even
and
going to bring
charming.
him up. So
Yeah.
Craig T. Nelson, I
Yes.
mostly know him as Coach, which was a
Uh-huh.
90s sitcom called Coach, in which
Oh.
he played a coach.
Yeah.
And I just always call him Coach.
Coach. Yeah, I like him in this. I think he is probably the only person I care about. I shouldn't even say care because like I don't actually like I'm not worried about him in the movie.
Mhm.
But he's the only person who when I'm on screen I feel like I can breathe for a second. He
Mm.
seems like the most level-headed character, and I think it is part of, the actor. Like he's just good at, I don't know, he feels he's the only character I'm comforted by.
He has a comforting, calm
Mm-hmm.
presence. His
Yeah.
character is the least offensive
Yes.
and the least likely to say something where you just go, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, literally.
I don't know if I ever said that about him, even though I said it about many other characters in this
Yes,
movie.
exactly.
One I didn't say it about, though, is Luke Wilson. Luke Wilson, who plays Ben, is so fucking hot and cute and adorable in this movie.
So I did. So, okay, spoiler alert. If you haven't watched the movie, I mean, I don't know if I can recommend going to watch it. Maybe do like what? Because I mean, I was stoned. I shouldn't have been stressed out, and I was stressed out. So I don't know. You would have to take like ayahuasca or something to like watch this movie and not have like a panic attack after. Um, but spoiler alert. So the couple that ends up together that I love is Sarah Jessica Parker and Luke Wilson. I just adore them. And it is but it's Luke Wilson in this movie is so disgusting. He's so gross in my opinion because one of the parts where I said, "What the fuck," was when she's in a car waiting. I think they're gonna bring her to the hotel or something. And he comes out and he starts talking about this dream that he had about her.
That's right. No,
And
this is
it's
insane.
it's funny because like when he actually describes the dream, it's like one of my favorite scenes. Like I think it's so sweet. I think it's so amazing. But also when you find out what the dream is about, part of it is that Sarah Jessica Parker is a child in the dream. And he comes out, he says something to her about how he's had this dream about her. And the camera pans to her eye level at the car. So it's his crotch and he's wearing gray sweatpants. And you very obviously see not a full erection, but at least a bulge. And he's kind of doing
Yes.
like hands on his hips, making it very obvious. I literally screamed at my television. I was like, what the fuck? Like that. I think he is so vile in this movie, but in such a charming way.
It's kind of my vibe.
I love him. I love him so much. I love the Wilson brothers.
You do love Owen Wilson, I know.
I do. Yeah. I love my Wilsons.
Yeah, this movie put him in gray sweatpants before that was a meme.
Yes. This was the start, I believe.
That's the one good thing this movie did.
Yes.
Is there anybody else in the cast you wanted to talk about?
Well, we can bring up Dermot Mulroney.
Dermot Mulroney, who is not to be confused with Dylan McDermott.
Yes, I get them very mixed up. Their names, their general demeanor. The only reason I bring him up though, and I could not verify this, I think it's just one of the fun facts on IMDb, and then I found it on one other website that was probably just getting it from there. But something on IMDb said that originally it was going to be Johnny Knoxville playing that character.
Wow.
Could you imagine which is
That
so
would have been
funny
amazing.
because you would think, do I have it confused? Because I told you, right? I think it was his character though, because it feels like Johnny Knoxville should play the
Luke
Luke
Wilson.
Wilson. Maybe I do have it confused, but either way, if they just put Johnny Knoxville in this movie, it would have been such a
It would
slam
have
dunk.
elevated it.
It
Yeah.
really would have elevated horror.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, one thing I'll mention, I didn't write down their names, but there is an actor, they have a gay deaf son
Yes.
because he can't just be one thing. You
No.
have a twofer. And
Mhm.
then you have a gay black partner, another twofer. And this
Right.
is one case where I think 2 + 2 = 3 because they're both gay. So you have gay, black, and deaf among two
Yes.
people. But did you know that the actor is actually deaf?
I actually did know that.
Wow.
Yes, I saw something about how, I don't know if you were going to bring this up, so I'm sorry if you were,
Go
but
for it.
the cast learned some sign language in order to communicate with him and to do it on screen. And I guess there was some, not controversy, but some like pushback of, it wasn't very well done. But then a lot
Mm.
of people in the actual deaf community came out and said, yeah, it wasn't perfect, but it's also very similar to how actual families would communicate with sign language
Mm.
because it's not always perfect. It's a lot of times these people are learning kind of quickly in order to be able to communicate with their relatives. And it almost is like more conversational and almost like more slangy when it's like
Yeah.
families. So I thought that was like really sweet and interesting.
I do think if I didn't hate this movie so much, I would admire that aspect of it, is that they are signing a lot.
Yes. Yeah. And it is sweet. I do like him as a character and I like his boyfriend. His boyfriend's kind of funny. Um, but they don't get enough to do that I really care that much. And B, they also, just in being a part of this family kind of suck.
Mhm.
But I mean, I think it's a sweet inclusion.
And did you know that the actor who plays his boyfriend is actually black?
What? Thank God.
But his last name is white.
Oh.
So, just had to
That
throw
was
that out
fair.
there.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about our gothic elements. All gothic horrors have 4 elements: a girl, a guy, a house, and a haunt. So, our girl and our guy are Meredith and Everett.
But you know what's kind of funny is that Meredith almost becomes the guy because she invites her sister into this shit
Mm.
show. So
Mhm.
like
Collateral damage.
exactly.
Mhm. Yeah, she calls for backup,
Yes.
and who we didn't talk about, Claire Danes, who is just has nothing to do.
Nothing. She literally, the doors of the bus opens. He falls in love with her instantly for no reason. I mean, Claire Danes is beautiful, but like Sarah Jessica Parker is also beautiful.
Mhm.
And then she just like immediately falls. It's very stupid. Although it's kind of funny to see her get hurt.
It's a
But
good fall.
it's a good fall. But yeah, she's in it. Collateral damage.
I would appreciate if this movie weren't so sentimental, I think. There's a part of the movie where first of all, one of the many stupid reasons they don't like Meredith is because she talks too much.
Right.
And when Everett hangs out with Claire Danes, all she's doing is talking about herself and her job.
Yes. Yeah.
And he loves that.
Right.
And she works for some nonprofit, because of course she does.
Naturally.
And she was working with a Native American who carved a totem pole for his community.
Right.
And she has this monologue where she says he had never carved anything in his life. It took him 5 years. You couldn't look at it without crying. And I wanted her to say, because it looked like shit. Like he hadn't carved anything, and in 5 years, like he still hadn't learned, and it looked like garbage, and we were all standing there. Like this movie needed some laugh lines, and that
It did.
would have been really funny.
Yes. Yeah.
But they also hate Meredith from the
Mhm.
get-go of this movie, she is meeting so from the get-go, she's like boss bitch. She's on the
Yes.
phone telling people they gotta work through Thanksgiving. It's like, yeah,
Mm.
girl, do it. And
Yeah.
then he takes her phone and hangs it up.
Instant punch the face.
I'm already pissed.
Yeah.
Let the
Yeah.
businesswoman business.
Right. Exactly. You guys live in New York freaking City. How do you think she affords rent? Ridiculous.
Exactly. And she's never met his family, and she's afraid they're not going to like her. And
Mhm.
she's right. They are shit talking her before she even arrives, and they've
Yeah.
decided they hate her before they even meet her.
Well, because what's her face? The
Amy.
sister, Amy,
Amy.
she has met her once. She went to New York City and they had dinner. And she complains the whole time about how Sarah Jessica Parker, Meredith, was talking for the entire dinner. And then very rudely, like also makes fun of her for having like a throat clearing tick. So rude. I am someone who sighs a lot. It's kind of like a almost like a meme with a group of my friends. I'm just constantly sighing. And if I met my boyfriend's sister and I found out that, like, not even because my friends make fun of me for it, you know, haha, it is funny. But if I found out that she, like, went to their family and was like, you'll never believe she has this disgusting habit of sighing. I what the fuck?
What the fuck?
It's so mean.
She's also mad because she took her to a stuffy restaurant.
It's probably super nice, great food, probably
Mhm.
cost an arm and a
Mhm.
leg. Who do you think is
Yes.
paying for it?
And
Like,
she even said later, Sarah Jessica Parker's character Meredith says, I tried to take her to the nicest place I knew.
yes, so rude.
And throughout the movie, even once they've met her, they still hate her.
Yes.
She clears her throat too much and they roll their eyes. She talks and
Hmm.
they roll their eyes. She brings them gifts and they roll their eyes before they even take off the fucking wrapping paper.
Exactly. And it ends up being beautiful and sentimental.
Yes.
They're just the
So
worst.
they're the fucking worst.
Hmm.
And the and he doesn't warn her that like she's
Mm.
about what she's going to get into.
Yeah,
This is very reminiscent of other gothic horrors we've talked about, like Ready or
right.
Not and Rebecca, where the man has not prepared the woman for what she's getting herself into.
Yes. Yeah. And I will say, to his credit, he does sometimes try to defend her. He does, you know, the whole like sort of I guess basis of his character is that he's going there to get his grandmother's ring, I think, to propose to her with.
It's the
And he does
family stone.
it's the family stone, that's right.
The stone
Um
stone.
the stone's stone. And he's like fighting for it, and then, you know, I think he says something like, "Ah, fuck you guys, I don't need the ring, I'm still gonna propose to her." But then he's the worst person in the world and like hits on her sister a whole bunch. Um,
Puts the ring on her.
puts the ring on her, like has very like steamy eye sex with her, like is just like a, you know, he cares about Meredith until someone, you know, prettier and chiller comes along.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, he sucks. I really hate him.
He's terrible.
Yeah, he's just a bad guy.
So the most infuriating scene of this movie to me is
Hmm.
the dinner scene.
Hmm.
And this scene comes up a lot. This scene comes up a lot on Letterboxd. This scene seems to come up the most whenever anyone talks about this movie is this dinner
Mm.
scene. And I assume what this dinner scene is trying to do is just to, in the most exaggerated, unrealistic, stupid way, portray those uncomfortable dinner conversations you have.
Mm. Yeah, yeah,
But it does it in such a ham-fisted, strange, weird way.
right.
And the crux of this scene is when, first of all, so there's the gay couple.
Hmm.
Um, one of them's gay and deaf, and one of them's gay and black. We got to bring that up because the movie is making a big deal out about their
Yes.
identities. And No one bats an eye when Claire Danes as Julie basically says, "Do you want a white baby or a black baby when you
Yeah,
adopt?
right.
Chocolate or vanilla?"
It's actually like kind of supposed to be this like almost heartwarming moment. Like, look at how interested Julie is in
Mhm.
like she's just like such an amazing, sweet, like she's like this manic pixie dream girl. Like, oh, she can say that because she's this is the good one.
They've also never met her,
Hmm.
and even though and she's fallen off this bus, and they're all swarming all over her as if she's lost a limb.
She says like one line. I don't even remember what she says. And the mother turns to one of the other family members and goes, "She's perfect for Dermot's character." What about the woman he's been dating for an indeterminate amount of time and wants to marry?
Right,
What about her?
right.
Like, it's so infuriating.
So yeah, no one has a problem that she is
Hmm.
asking them if they want a white baby or a black baby.
Yep.
Flash forward, of course they pick the black baby.
Right.
But this movie couldn't virtue signal hard enough if they didn't pick the black baby.
Yeah.
So then everyone like record scratch, like all the noises, signs you can make of people going, "Huh, what?" When when Meredith asks how the gay couple feels about nature versus nurture regarding homosexuality.
Hmm. Hmm.
Everyone is like, "Homophobe!"
Right.
Like immediately laying into her for even bringing up what honestly still in 2024 is still a valid question.
Yes, it's still a very interesting discussion to be had.
Yes. And things quickly spiral out of control for her.
Hmm.
And one of the I think this is probably why I want to punch Diane Keaton because I feel like she just is her character. I can't separate the two.
Yeah.
But when Diane Keaton says she wishes all three of her sons were gay,
Oh my God.
and the reason she gives is because they would never leave me.
That is so gross. That is so gross.
And then everyone thinks Sarah Jessica Parker is a fucking monster
Right.
for asking, why would you want your kids to be gay?
Exactly. And because, yes, does she do it in a very ham-fisted way? Yes. But the the point she's trying to make is that just historically, culturally, gay people have a harder time. So like,
Yes.
of course, there's that. And I feel like it's a very normal conversation to have nowadays. Like, of course, like you just want what's best for your child. If they came out to be gay, accept them, love them, whatever. But like, it's that expectation of you want your children to be gay. Like, that is, there should be no normative, no like, you know, prepackaged child that every person gets. But don't you want your child to just, be themselves at the end of the
Right.
day? It's so, and the way Diane Keaton is so creepy about it. She's so icky. Ugh.
And like this is the family that in the year of our Lord 2024,
Hmm.
when conservatives think about like liberal elite weirdos, this is the
Mm,
exact family that they are talking
it
about.
is. It is. So I don't know, we might bring it up in more of the house section. I don't know. Do you want to jump ahead to the house? Because I feel like it kind of deals with that a little
Go
bit.
for it.
So the director lived or grew up in Amherst, Massachusetts. I don't know if you
That's
saw
right.
that. Yes. And I see a lot of Western Massachusetts. I think I brought this up in the last episode actually. There are like parts of Massachusetts that are like the wilds. Like
Ding
it's
ding 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 ding
yes.
ding.
And then there are parts of Western Massachusetts that are so white hoity-toity. Like there are these like little towns, Amherst being one of them. Maybe not so much now, it's whatever. But it is like, I mean, it's very much it's a town filled with families, I feel like this, where they're so liberal that they almost become conservative. Like
Their heads are
it's
so far up their own asses. That's a really good
exactly.
way to putting it because I've always believed that the political spectrum is a circle.
Yes. because they're so conservative that they absolutely they they have no room to, and like, don't get me wrong, I'm extremely liberal. Anyone who's listening, I promise. But there are some, especially I find it in Massachusetts, where there are white individuals who are so liberal that they do not accept like change. Like they do
Mm-hmm.
not accept, they almost take a disliking to people who would be considered, more like moderate, or, I think, I don't want to like impart anything on Sarah Jessica Parker. I character, I should say. I'm not gonna, especially not gonna impart anything on Sarah Jessica Parker. On Meredith, I don't think she's like a conservative. Like I don't think she's like, she wouldn't be a Trump person, but she's
Right.
probably like
I bet
moderate.
she
Oh,
definitely voted for a second term for Bush. Like,
yeah,
she did.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Meredith.
Yes. Um,
And
but like,
sorry, not to
oh yeah.
continue down this thread, but like she'll also probably vote for McCain.
Mm,
Whereas the Stone family is gonna vote for Obama and tell everyone that they voted for Obama
everyone.
because they've got this black son-in-law,
Yes.
and they're the family from Get Out. Like they're the Get Out
I
family.
was just gonna say they remind me
Okay.
of the dad who says, I would have voted for Obama a third time. Like, yes,
Mm-hmm.
it is. And actually Get Out is like a really good comparison, because it is like this family that is so ultra liberal that they're like fetishizing people of color, and like it like these types of families drive me up a freaking wall. And also, I think what drives me up a wall with them is that they just think that they can do no wrong, and they are such a
Mm-hmm.
close family unit that they're not having any discussions about their differences. It just drives me up a wall.
They have no differences. They're just all carbon
Yeah.
copies of each other living in this echo chamber.
Yes. Yeah.
I had to look back. I thought to myself, what were gay rights like in 2005?
Hmm.
And they were non-existent.
Yeah.
And in 2004, George W. Bush was on the record saying that he would sign a constitutional amendment that said marriage was between a man and a woman. So
Oh.
that's where this country was in 2005.
Okay.
So Meredith saying, "Why would you want your kids to be born
Yes.
into this world?" is completely rational.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, they're not even married. I'm assuming the gay couple, because I don't think they
They couldn't
legally could
be.
be, right?
No,
Because
I
that was
don't.
what,
Well,
2010.
so because there were civil
Oh, that's right.
unions and Massachusetts legalized marriage before the rest of
It
the
was the
country, but
first
I'm not
one.
sure.
Yeah.
But where are they? They're probably in Connecticut. So
Yes.
there's no way they're actually married.
Yeah. It does feel very like white colonial New England for sure. This family, this house, this vibe.
And for those who aren't from here and haven't been to Amherst, Massachusetts, Amherst
Hmm.
is a place where 99% of the people are white, but
Hmm.
they all have Black Lives Matter signs hanging
Yes.
outside their house.
Right. Like, I love Massachusetts. I've loved growing up here. It's been a great experience. I actually will probably never leave Massachusetts. I really enjoy it. Um, Massachusetts sometimes needs to get their head out of their ass and realize that, we're still a predominantly white state.
Yes.
There is, a lot of work to be done in terms of actually rectifying, Massachusetts, New England in general, I think definitely has this mindset, and we're like kind of getting off track, but I'll just say it. New England in general kind of has this aversion to talking about race in a way that's actually constructive, because a lot of people in New England, Massachusetts specifically, they don't believe that they've ever done anything wrong.
Right.
They look at Massachusetts being the first state to legalize gay marriage, and we should be very proud of that. But we still have a lot of work to do in terms of
Yes.
gay rights, homophobia, and then advocating for those. I should probably stop because I will rant and rant, but just to get a sense of, I think, what the culture is behind how I'm viewing this movie and this family.
To stay off topic, I will say that in one of the many Richard Nixon books that I
Hmm.
read this summer, I learned about how violent Boston got
Yes.
when they were required to bus some of their
Yes.
white students into mostly Black Roxbury.
Yep.
And that was in the 60s and 70s. Like,
There's
people who were alive then are still alive.
there's a very famous photo of a white man charging a black man holding an American flag like he's going to spear the black man, that was taken in Boston during these riots. And
Wow.
that man in that photo holding the American flag worked on the Big Dig. Yeah.
Wow.
Right? Like that is not ancient history to us. Like
No.
Massachusetts, New England in general has a lot of reckoning it needs to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I also don't want to live anywhere else.
Yes.
Because other places are worse, but
Yes.
that doesn't mean that there's no room for improvement.
Right. And to bring it back to the movie, I think just in general, like a theme with this movie and a theme with what we were saying is that people have bad behavior when they refuse to hold mirrors up to themselves. And I think that's happening a
Mm.
lot in this family is they just, and it like kind of sucks. And I can see why, I'm not sure if this is, you have a lot of reasons to hate this movie. But if I had to pick a reason not to like this movie, and one that I would imagine maybe you do too, is that it ends in such a cliche, happy holiday way, except for the mom's dead, but like womp womp. Um,
But they're kind of like whatever. Like, it's still like we all
right.
got to go sometime. Like,
Yeah.
it's still kind of, I don't know, weirdly heartwarming that
Right.
she's dead.
Yes. It feels like no one learned any lessons from this movie.
Also, evil wins because Meredith and her sister both get absorbed into this
Yes.
family.
You're right.
And they symbolize it by having Meredith put her hair down.
Yeah. Yes.
I think the only other movie we've watched where evil, I don't think we've watched a single movie where evil has won. I
Mm.
think the closest we've come is The Others, when just like nothing
Mm.
wins at the end.
Yes.
Like the
Yeah.
family loses, but there are no winners. But this one is
Right.
like evil won.
Evil won. Like they are fully a part of this family now.
It's a true horror. I guess, well, mother exclamation point.
Mm.
There's, that one ends in tragedy as well.
Right.
But that even though there's no haunt in this movie, like Diane Keaton, Sybil's ghost, even if she doesn't
Yes.
materialize, is going to haunt this family forever, because this is going to be the type of family that will never shut
Yes.
the fuck up about their dead mother.
Yes, exactly. She is going to be canonized in that house.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They already have her picture up on the wall.
Yep.
And this is another time where I wish the movie would just be a little more honest. And when they're all crying about her at the end, I wish we'd just have a scene of Meredith saying, "That bitch never liked me."
Right. Yeah, seriously.
like I know y'all are sad, but that bitch never liked me.
Never liked me. Right, exactly. Yeah.
Anything else to say about the house? Do they even have mirrors, physical mirrors in this house? The house is kind
Ooh.
of
It's a white colonial New England house. It's I've been in houses like them. They're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot. The kitchen's kind of nice. It's nice and bright.
Yeah. Sybil has
That's
one
it.
of those orange iMacs that were really popular back in the day.
That's right. She does. Yeah.
It's like orange, translucent
Yes.
orange plastic.
Yeah, the see-through plastic was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. No, not a very exciting house.
Not a very exciting house. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, our haunt is judgmental liberals / the memory of the dead mother.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
We do have some bonus gothics.
Mm-hmm.
We have romantic rival.
Yep. Yep. Just all over the place.
Yeah, there's just, the
There's
crisscrossing of the brothers and the sisters is
Yeah.
bizarre.
It's so icky. Like I said, so Meredith and Luke Wilson, so Sarah Jessica Parker and Luke Wilson, they become one of my favorite couples because they're stupidly mismatched. I don't think they would ever work in real life. There's just something so charming about them ending up together and like so stupid and ridiculous about them ending up together. But I would never be able to even like touch the sibling of someone that I've been like that is so gross to me. And it's a full romance square. They're just
Yeah. It's like a
ugh,
cube
it
in a weird
is.
way.
Yeah, it's ew. I hate it, but I love them. I stand them.
It is kind of Stockholm syndrome-y, where she's falling for the only person who is treating her with a
Mm.
shred of decency.
Yes, she should have ended up with the dad. The mom should have died, and she should have married the dad.
I'm your mom now. Look at me. Look at me. I'm the matriarch now.
Who hates you now, bitch?
That would have been
She
great.
tells Amy, go to
Who's
your
got
room,
grandma's
Amy.
wedding ring now?
Go to your room, Amy. You're grounded.
Oh, that would be
That
good.
is how the movie should have ended. I'm so upset.
We need to just remake this movie without telling anyone we're remaking this
Yes,
movie.
absolutely.
And
But
someone on Letterboxd will be like, "This feels like the Family Stone," and we'll be like, "Yep,
that's so weird. I wonder why
we
you
were
think
paying
that.
attention." Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, incest, bonus gothic, and in a
Yep.
weird way, we kind of have that.
Yes.
And the family is all weirdly close, and
Mm-hmm.
but not a lot of doors, unfortunately.
No.
Not a lot
A
of other
couple.
gothic elements.
Yeah, I don't think there's a piano. Yeah, that's about
So
it.
with that in mind, do you think this movie is gothic?
I kind of do. like, like in our way. I mean, it's horrifying. I mean, it's the only movie we've
It's a
watched
horror, yes.
that has given me night terrors. So,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, sure, why not?
I think it completely unconsciously
Yes,
has all the tropes. It has
right,
all the tropes.
right. And we didn't
This
even bring up like American Gothic. Like, you could talk about all the little aspects of that,
Mhm.
colonialism. You know,
Mhm.
it's it's spooky, man.
The isolation of
Yes.
being stuck in this family. For me, it's always the feeling of being stuck and being
Mm-hmm.
trapped. And this movie just really, 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 the claustrophobia is
Yes,
oppressive.
it really is. Yeah.
Well, there we go. Family Stone, gothic
Mm-hmm.
masterpiece. Do you have any memorable scenes you wanted to talk about?
No. I don't think
M-
I do.
Me neither. The
Um,
less I remember this movie, the better.
yeah. Yep, exactly. If I were to bring up a scene, it would probably be Luke Wilson's gray sweatpants. So,
Love the gray sweatpants. And I will say the dream he has is so bizarre where he says, You were a little girl and you were shoveling the snow, and I was the snow.
I'm not kidding. I should have brought that up. That is a memorable scene to me. That is, again, I was very stoned. That is the most romantic thing I've ever heard in my life. I nearly wept. I thought it was so gorgeous. I don't know if it's just me being growing up in New England and having shoveling snow, since I was old enough to hold a shovel. I just thought it was so sweet. I'm just picturing tiny Sarah Jessica Parker in a snowsuit and market basket, plastic bags on her feet with the boots on over them,
Yep.
like, and Luke Wilson just like a melted Jack Frost as the snow. I don't know. I thought it was so sweet and cute, and I don't know why that really did it for me.
In a different movie, I would feel similarly. In
Mm.
this movie, I just feel like each individual snowflake is Luke Wilson's face.
He's just like screaming.
She's just like flinging them over her shoulder.
Yes, yeah. Oh.
Well, what else have you been enjoying, Amanda?
So I watched a movie, and actually, I was gonna bring it up to you because I think I had told you I was gonna watch it, and we thought we could potentially do it for the podcast. We could potentially someday, but I don't. The house, it was specifically what I was excited for with this movie, and I don't think it really holds up enough to talk about. But I liked the movie. It was called Oddity.
Okay.
It's a Shudder movie, and essentially it's about a man and a woman move into a house. Woman gets murdered. Her sister comes, the woman who was murdered, her sister comes to hang out at the house, and she is a spiritual person. She's like a psychic. Her whole
This is
thing
the
is
Family Stone. This is practically the Family Stone if they had killed Meredith.
if they had killed Meredith and then Claire Danes had to show up and solve the murder, this would have been the
Mhm.
Family Stone. And if Claire Danes, because the sister character, she brings this big, huge wooden golem with her. It's very bizarre. It's a strange movie. I wouldn't say it was by means like a favorite of mine or anything, but it was effectively creepy. I mean, there were parts of the movie, it didn't give me night terrors like the Family Stone. But there were parts of the movie that really freaked me out. The house is good. Again, I think that's what I was most excited about to talk about, because it's sort of this, they're renovating this, I don't know what it's supposed to be, like a castle. I don't even know, but it has this giant courtyard in the middle. So like the cars, when they drive up, they drive into the courtyard, but then you really don't get any great shots of the inside of the house, which is super disappointing. But yeah, I mean, the movie itself was very creepy. If you aren't ready yet to fully dive into Christmas movies and you want to watch something scary first,
Mhm.
watch The Family Stone, then watch Oddity as a palate cleanser.
Yes. To lift your
It'll be good.
spirits.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
right. I mean, people are murdered and it's like really sad, but yeah, I mean, it was a very solid horror movie. I liked it.
And you watched that on Shudder?
So I ended up watching it on, I requested a DVD from the library, because
Ooh,
the
I
good
love a
thing about
DVD.
Shudder is, I will say, they do release most of their originals physically, which I really appreciate. Thank you so much, Shudder. Um, I do want a Shudder subscription. I think, was it you who was telling me there's going to be a television show or something that looked really interesting?
The Creep Tapes.
Yes, that's right. With our favorite, the Creep, with
Mhm.
what's his name? The wolf?
Peach Fuzz.
Peach
Peach Fuzz.
Fuzz. With Peach Fuzz. So I will probably subscribe to watch that. But big shout out to Shudder for releasing their materials physically. I very much appreciate that.
Yes, that's how I watched Late Night with the Devil, which I think was also a Shudder original. I watched it on
Yes.
Blu-ray.
Yeah, and I feel like they're very good. It's not like Netflix where, like, I remember when I would order DVDs for a library I was working at, it was when Stranger Things was huge, and you would literally have to wait like years to be able to buy the DVDs. Shudder is pretty, I don't think it's instantaneous, but it's pretty quickly after they come out on the streaming service, you can buy them physically. So, yay, Shudder.
That's great. Yeah, my favorite movie in the last, like, 5 years is May December, which is on Netflix, and I always wanna recommend it to people at the library,
Yes.
but it's not on physical media.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, I think the only reason why uh Year of the Dog?
Power of the
No.
Dog.
Power of the Dog. I think the only reason why that's on physical media is because it was Criterion.
Right, and it won an Oscar.
Yeah, so I wouldn't even hold your breath. Well, May December though. Could it be nominated this year or would it have
I
been
think
last year?
I think it would have been last year. I think they
Oh,
may have gotten some Golden Globe nominations, but no one cares
okay.
about those.
Yeah. Oh, boo. Yeah, so
Yeah.
don't hold your breath for that to get released physically, which sucks.
I know, I wanna own it.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's my recommendation. Just a good, solid, creepy horror movie.
Love that. Oddity on Shudder.
Oddity. Yes. And what have you been enjoying?
Well, I probably did watch May December for, like, the 8th time,
Yep.
but I won't recommend that. I'm gonna recommend another game, actually.
Ooh,
So, did you know Netflix has games?
I did not.
So, Netflix publishes mobile games for,
Hmm.
Apple iOS or Google Play Store,
Okay.
and a lot of them are actually really good, and if you have a Netflix subscription so you
Hmm.
can download any of the games from the Play Store, but you can't access the game unless you have a Netflix subscription, so you log
Okay.
in, and the great thing about that, though, is that there's no ads and there's no
Mm.
microtransactions. You
Yeah.
just get a game, which is
Yeah.
so refreshing, especially in the mobile landscape. But I had Netflix on and it was cycling through. And I don't know if it's because it knows I've played a game, but it will advertise the games to me as well,
Oh.
in between the movies and shows.
Mhm.
And it popped up this game called Rise of the Golden Idol. And
Mm.
I said, I want to try that. So I downloaded. I could not put that game down. I've never
Mm.
played a game like this before. And there's actually a this is actually a sequel. I missed the first one, but it's really hard to describe how it works. It's a
Mhm.
point and click mystery game.
Mm.
So you have a scene on your. I played on my tablet. You have a scene on your tablet. For instance, one of the first scenes is a car, and there's a couple that's gotten out of the car, and there's a dead body in the road.
Mm.
And you can click different things on the scene that are marked with question marks and zoom in or get a closer look. And then you're also gathering vocabulary words as you click on
Ooh.
things. And then what you have to do is fill in the blanks in different puzzles. So one puzzle that's in every scene is you have a face of all the characters who are in the scene, and you have to say what their name is.
Okay.
And it gets harder as you go where you have to. This one's pretty easy because it's like the second level, and the woman's like, Harold, I don't think he's breathing. So you know the man's name is Harold.
Right.
But later on, one of the boards I just did, you're in an apartment, you're looking at an apartment building that has maybe 10 units,
Uh-huh.
and you have to figure out who lives where and match
Ooh.
them up. And it's so the mental gymnastics you have to go through are great, but the
Yeah.
game always makes sense. I've only
Hmm.
gotten stumped a couple of times, and I really think it's because I was missing something, not because the game was being too obtuse.
Right.
And since it's a modern game, you can get hints whenever you like.
Uh-huh.
And so once you fill in the faces, there's usually you fill in the faces and then you have to fill in something else. Like there was one where there's a murder in a birdhouse, like aviary.
Oh, okay.
And
I was like,
so
wow, it must be very small people.
so it's so funny because you have to identify both the people and the birds.
Ooh.
And then you have to identify there's something about the birds, what the bird is drawn to. So you have
Okay.
to put that in a little grid. And then there's always something that they call the scroll. And the scroll gets longer and longer as you go, but it's the narrative of what has happened in the scene.
Mm.
And you then have to fill in a bunch of blanks with names, verbs, nouns, and explain what happened. And they get more and more complex. There's one where it's a talent show, and you
Mhm.
have to identify all of the people. You have to say what order the acts came in, and then you
Ooh.
have to explain what happened. And you've got two different people who have sabotaged someone else. And then
Okay.
that sabotage ended up benefiting a fifth party. And so
Ooh.
they get so intricate. And you
Yeah.
never, when you look at the scene, you can never, it's never what you think it is on the surface. It's
Uh-huh.
always something else. There's a
Interesting.
little bit of a sci-fi element, which I kind of
Uh-huh.
like. And it takes place in the 70s.
Ooh.
And not only that, but all of the scenes eventually come together. So once you finish all the scenes in like a chapter,
Yeah.
you then get a scroll that ties them all together and you have to piece the whole puzzle together. And I'm really
Mhm.
wondering if there's going to be one big scroll at the end that pieces the whole game together because I'm really
Yeah.
curious. But you can go back and look at all their scenes and it's like there's this character that I've been with that's appeared in like 3 or 4 scenes and I
Uh-huh.
just realized they were in the very first scene and it's like,
Oh.
"Oh my god, what's going on?" So
Right.
it jumps around in time. It's so intricate, but it's really great. And yeah, it's free with your Netflix subscription.
That's
Rise of the
so,
Golden Idol.
so wild that like I'm like totally sold. Like I need to sign up for Netflix and play this because I love puzzle games in general. And that just sounds like so much fun. And I cannot believe that it is a Netflix game. That's
Yes, and there's
wild.
a I can't wait to play the prequel. Once I finish this one, I'm gonna play the
Yeah.
prequel. The
Yes.
prequel looks like it's done in an old school, almost like Amiga style computer graphics,
Oh, yeah,
which is
yeah.
really neat. And then this new one has a really neat art style that I think if it wasn't so well done, I would find a little grotesque. Some of the
Mm.
characters do look a little grotesque, but the art style is just so well done that I don't know, it's neat. It adds to the vibe of the
Yeah.
story.
Oh, I'm so excited. That sounds like so much fun.
Check that out. There's actually a lot of good Netflix games. If you like
Yeah.
little action games, there's one called Pointby, Poinpy,
Okay.
Pointby, and you jump. You jump up a vertical
Like
tunnel. Is it a
wall.
tunnel if
Oh,
it goes
okay.
up and down?
I guess.
Um,
Hole.
and you just keep jumping until you get to the top.
Ooh. Okay.
It sounds really simple, but it's really addictive and really
Mm.
weird and really cute. But
Yeah.
Netflix is honestly, I think a lot of their games are better than a lot of their visual
Yes.
media content these days.
Honestly, they should just focus on games.
Focus on games, Netflix.
Yeah. It's funny actually, YouTube, like I have a YouTube Premium subscription and they have something similar with games, but they're all just like the only one I really play is it's like one of those squares with the cars in them, and it's like a little puzzle and you have to get the cars out. I love those.
I love those.
Yeah. So it seems like a lot of their games are much more just like simple, like kind of already done games. And I enjoy it, but oh that sounds like so much fun then.
What I do is I have an Android phone, so I go
Mhm.
into any app on the App Store. So like the Netflix app, and
Yeah.
you can click the publisher. So you click Netflix, and then on the Google Play Store, it pulls up all of the Netflix games. There's like
Oh,
50 of them. And
wow.
I need to see, now that I'm saying this out loud, I need to see if they have a website because I never know when they're coming out with new games. I don't know how to
Yeah.
get updated. They have a lot that are based on some of their shows. There's some Stranger Things
Oh,
games.
okay.
There's seems to be a game for every weird reality dating show that they have.
Oh, fun.
So you can get
Love
all
it.
this content. It's
Yeah.
great.
Wow, that's so good. Wow, and I'm assuming you could, like, play it on your tablet and also still have Netflix playing on, like, a TV or something?
Yes. Yep.
Awesome. Love it. Love it.
It's great. Highly recommend. And yeah, if I didn't say it already, you get no ads, no
Yep.
microtransactions. You just have a game to enjoy,
Yes.
which especially on a mobile device is really
It's, like,
unique.
unheard of. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. That's
Yes.
awesome. Good. Very fun.
Well, I think that does it. Thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Ghosties, for listening to us break down and me have a breakdown about the Family Stone. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever fine podcasts are streamed. And share us with a friend if you really want to traumatize them. Share this conversation about the Family Stone. Until next time, stay ghosty. Boo bye.
Bye.